象你回去又查了你的书，然后去到上课的时候又问了老师更多的问题。
If we did that same thing with the scriptures, would you learn something? Yeah, you would learn a lot. You would learn so much. And the thing about it is, this word examine is from the word anakrino, which means to ask, question, discern, examine, judge, search the scriptures. They did more than just went, oh, well that's what he said. They kind of dug in and looked for themselves. Isn't that neat that these people did this? And this is what I was able to get out of 3 scriptures. I got 3 important parts that we should be doing today. And this is what the scriptures are wanting us to do. Today, they want us to be able to cross-examine. Also, every believer has the right to ask questions. If you don't understand what I'm saying, ask. That's simple. And I love it because the more you ask, the more I learn. And the more you ask, the more you learn. Isn't that kind of cool? I mean, it's kind of a situation where we have to all agree. Also, I love this one. And this is a phrase that when I read it in the book that I was reading, I went, let me think about this just for a second. If we don't question, then we may not get the nutritional values from what is taught. That hit me like a brick on the head, like, that's right. That's what we're doing when we come to God's house. We are being fed. We are being spiritually fed. And if we don't ask, we don't know if we're eating the right kind of stuff. For example, if Calvin fixes something, sometimes he'll say, don't ask me what that is. Just try it. You might like it. Other times I ask him and he'll tell me, not happening. Don't I, Calvin? Sometimes we do that. And when we ask, and 9 times out of 10, I'll say, okay, don't tell me, let me eat, and I'll ask you. And then I go, oh, I can't believe, okay. But, that's what you do. You ask questions so that you can make sure you're getting what you need.
问问题，然后你才能得到更有养分的那些价值。从你被教的这些东西，你要有一个应该是那个思考，然后一个回馈，才会你会得到更多。It's a weakness, it's a weakness for we Chinese and Chinese because we are educated not to ask more questions.
I know. You were told, you have been taught not to ask questions. And that's hard. In America, we're taught if you don't ask questions, you bet, you've got to ask questions. You can't learn if you don't ask questions. And so that is a tough thing, and I can see where that's tough. I really can. So that's kind of some of the things. But I will say this though, if you're doing a one-on-one Bible study, don't you ask questions?
如果我们有在做1对1的那个 Bible study 的话，你会问问题吗？ Usually,
yeah. See, you're still doing that. It's just that you've been taught in a formal situation, kind of like this, you don't ask questions. But in a group. Yeah. And that's something that we as Americans, we don't ask questions in a group either.
Really?
We really don't.
Really?
No.
You will go to that person if they have made a comment. You will go to them one-on-one.
But not in a group. So it's the same way.
But if the teacher is lecturing, after teacher's lecture, and usually...
Right.
No,
right.
But it just really depends. But like in this kind of setting, and in kind of like in church, I think a preacher would fall over backwards if somebody rose their head and went, I don't understand what you just said.
Where did you come up with that?
I think that,
Oh yeah, faith.
Do you see what I'm talking about? But they might go afterwards and say, oh no, wait a minute. But yes, that happens. Now, as in all good things, as you see, the Bereans had a lot of good things going on. Guess what happens when a lot of good things going on? Trouble starts.
Because jealousy is always there.
Because jealousy is always there and Satan's always around. And guess what happens? And this is what blew my mind. The people in Berea did not cause the trouble. Read verses 13 through 15 and see where the trouble came from.
这边讲到的是 Berea 的人呢，其实没有OK， 我们讲到好的人、好的事情之后呢，常常就会有 jealousy， 就是妒忌妒忌就会来了。OK， 在这边13节开始，但帖撒罗尼迦的犹太人知道保罗又在庇哩亚传神的道，也就往那里去，耸动搅扰众人。当时弟兄们便打发保罗往海边去。希拉和提摩太人住在庇哩亚，送保罗的人带他到了雅典，既领了保罗的命，叫希拉和提摩太速速到他这来，就回去了。
Where did they come from? Thessalonica. How far was Thessalonica away from Berea? 80.46 kilometers, or about 50 miles. Those people must have been really bad. Think about it. They walked 50 miles to cause trouble. It wasn't the Bereans that was causing the trouble. It was those people that lived 50 miles away from them. Boy, talk about mad. Have you ever been so mad that you left where you were because you're mad, and then by the time you got somewhere else, you couldn't remember why you were mad?
I guess they had money.
Yeah, they had. They must have had money to travel 50 miles. Because it wasn't, oh, let's hop in our car and 45 minutes later, we're there. We're talking about 1 or 2 days. They were hopping mad for 2 days. And look at what they did then. The trouble is, as long as and I love this, and this is something that's so true, as long as congregations exist, there will always be someone ready and willing to stir up the people. You have your designated troublemaker. And they wear a proud sign. I like to cause trouble. Here I am. I'm causing trouble now. And this designated trouble person traveled 50 miles to do the trouble. It still happens today. There are people in congregations and in groups that all they want to do is cause trouble.
Congregation 在这边就是讲的就是集会的意思，你只要有人聚集的地方，就会一定会有那个害群之马。
Do you know people like that? They just love to cause trouble. They just love it. The men of Thessalonica traveled to Berea just to create the problem. Isn't that sad that people would travel 50 miles just to cause a trouble? But there are people out there. There's people here that cause trouble for fun. They're not Bereans. I can definitely say that. Okay, I'm trying not to get excited. I'm really trying not to, because this statement really excites me. And it's really sad at the same time. Paul is escorted to Athens. Whoa, we finally get to go to Athens next week, and I am so pumped. Because something wonderful and sad at the same time happens in Athens. But here we have the group breaks up. These people from Thessalonica traveled to Berea, got the people so stirred up that they escorted Paul safely out to Athens, Greece. Silas and Timothy remains in Berea. So, the question I have to ask you today is, are you a Berean?
Yeah.
So let's think about this. Are we a Berean? Because number one, when we desire God and His Word, we always find it. When we have a desire to learn God and learn about Him and study Him, we will find Him. And people who go, I just don't see God in it. I just don't see God here. I don't see God there. The question you need to ask them is, well, when was the last time you saw Him? Because He's everywhere. The second statement is, when we prepare for learning about God, God shows us more about Him. God definitely shows us more about who God is. And last but not least, is when we question for clarification. Or in other words, when we truly don't understand what is being taught, and we ask, could you explain that? Guess what happens? We learn more about God. Because trust me, I am not the best explainer in the world. And sometimes my brain thinks a certain way and it comes out a different way. Have you ever done that? Where you know the answer but you couldn't write it down because it was still right up here? That's what happens. And so that's the end of today's lesson about the Bereans.